Hey everybody, nice to see you again. Me and Kathleen, our guest speaker, are here in our Christmas sweaters in all of our glory. He has little shoes on. And happy or no, early Merry Christmas. I'm in the Christmas spirit. So glad to see you here again. My name is Sharon Chaden-Burks, and you are in the Idea Networking session for December 2024. And I had scheduled two guest speakers, but I haven't heard back from my other guest speakers. So right now we have Kathleen Kitchen with us, and we'll see if our other guest speaker shows up. I am putting tonight's agenda in the chat. And if our second guest speaker isn't able to make it, I'll share with you a little bit about what I've been doing lately. I've been using AI in some interesting ways, so I'll share a little bit about that. So contribute to your tool belt. Okay, Kathleen, I'm going to hand it over to you and mute myself. And Kathleen is just going to share how she got into her current role, transitioning from her former teaching career. So please write down your questions, and if you would like to go to a breakout room and chat with Kathleen personally, you're welcome to do that. And I will also stay out in the main room if you want to chat with me. So Kathleen, you're all good to go.
Awesome. Thanks. Thank you for having me, Sharon. I really appreciate it. Like she mentioned, I just left education in June as a health and physical education teacher. I taught high school for 15 years. I was a big part of the driver's education curriculum, and I spent a lot of time in the classroom. So I know maybe you're thinking health and PE, like this is a different switch. It is really different, but I've enjoyed it a lot. But it's a lot of similar things when you are building consistently a curriculum or lessons and learning objectives and all the different things. So how many of us here are currently in education, just so I know who I'm speaking to? If you want to throw a hand up, we got one, two, three. Maybe, okay, at least three. So we'll say probably 50% of you guys, because I can only see a handful. But um, even if you're not transitioning out of education and you are maybe just making a career switch, I am excited to talk to you about instructional design, what it is, and how I kind of got into it. So for me, if you're a teacher, you hear what is your why? Why are you a teacher? Right? I think I heard that every year that since the year I started teaching. And for a really long time, especially young Kathleen, my why has always stayed the same, and it's giving back to my community, speaking into kids' lives, and helping them make big decisions in their future. And just making a difference. I mean, it's awesome. Being a teacher is fantastic in a lot of ways. But somewhere along the line, I got married, I started a family, and my why started to shift. Why am I getting up every day and pouring this much energy and effort into something where I am receiving not the same amount? It's not a give and take. It's just it seemed to me like a give all the time. And for me, my why was to find a job that would allow me to be the present mom that I wanted to be. That is my why. And I had no idea what I was going to transition into. It was just that teaching has been great and I feel purposeful. However, there needed to be change. So my why shifted. And I just started investigating. I just started looking into, I literally just started Googling, what do teachers transition into? Like, what other careers are there for teachers? And it's interesting because for a long time, I felt like if I'm a teacher, I'm just a teacher. That's I'm just going, I am a teacher. And we have such a long list of skills that no one possesses. And so I just really want to encourage you, if you feel like there's not a lot of options out there, there's a ton of options. You are a treasure. People look for people who work like this. You know, teachers wear lots of different hats. We have to be flexible. You have to be working in an emergency situation at all times. So like, people don't work like that all the time anymore. And this is a really great role to transition into. Um, so one thing that really spoke to me about instructional design was the flexibility, working from home, being able to put my kids on the bus. And then also it was a lot of what I was already used to. There's so many transferable skills from teaching to ID. And I just can't stress that enough. And I'm going to get into my resume in a little bit, and talk to you about that and how I transitioned my resume from teacher resume to ID resume. But it was, that was a huge task in and of itself, but you can take everyday things that you do in teaching and transfer it into ID language. You just got to know the right things to say. Okay, so last August, I started looking around and instructional design kind of fell in my lap. In fact, I had a coworker of mine, a teacher who took a program and she goes, Kathleen, I know who you are, I know how you work. You would love instructional design. It's all the things that you love to do. You like to do analysis. You like to figure out a problem and how to create change. And so for me, it just really seemed like that's part of teaching that I enjoy. I like being creative. I like building out all my lessons and PowerPoints and making it look appealing, and engaging and innovative. And now I get to do that in a different, I don't know, in a different world, but it's very similar. So I'm kind of peeking at my notes for a second too, because I don't want to miss anything. Um, but yeah, so she had mentioned to me, you should look into it. And I did. I found a program that fit my schedule, that fit my needs, and was able to complete that in April. And then I started applying. If you are in the application process for instructional design at all, it is brutal. If you are applying, just keep applying, 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 applying. I applied to 200 positions and I probably only heard back from a handful. It just was a lot of grunt work, and staying on top of, who I applied to, what they were looking for in a candidate, and being diligent about keeping my notes on my spreadsheets, like looking so I would remember, because you have to apply a lot. But I'm going to kind of roll into my resume. So part of my program that I took, which was Applied Instructional Design Academy, it's an online program. It was fantastic. I have nothing but wonderful things to say about it. And it had a whole section that was about building your resume, building your LinkedIn, creating your portfolio, and how to make yourself a marketable instructional designer who's sought after. So I followed exactly what they told me. There was a whole section that wanted to that worked on my resume, and honestly, I did it to a T, and I still wasn't getting through to the companies that I wanted to, and their SMS. It just wasn't clicking. I was just applying, applying, applying. So I actually sought after my friend who took the program before me, and she sat down with me, and her and I discussed how to really translate my credentials and what I'm capable of into instructional design language. So I think that that's really important, because you want to sell yourself as an instructional designer, not as a teacher. although there are a ton of transferable skills, it's very important that you put it in the right language or they're just going to see teacher. They get hundreds of thousands of applicants a day sometimes that come through and are educators who are looking to go into the ID world. And even if you have a lot of the skills, they want to know that you know how to apply it in instructional design. So I really strongly believe that that you need to really focus on your resume and make sure that it is communicating that to the companies you're applying to. Your portfolio. You have to have a portfolio. You have to show what you can do. And I don't know, Sharon, if I have the ability to share. And I'm actually kind of building something out right now.
Make sure that
See
you
here.
can.
You want to make sure that they can easily access your portfolio and what it is that you can do. So I'm going to show you mine if that's okay. Sharon, you good with that?
Yep.
It basically just introduces who I am, what I stand for, my character, and what I'm passionate about in instructional design. I created mine in Google Drive. You can just create it through Google. It's free. It doesn't cost any money. You can just dump all your stuff in there. It's very easy, user friendly. And I promise you, as an instructional designer, I can do a lot of things in an authoring tool like Storyline, beyond all the things, but working within a website, not my forte. So this was really user friendly. So I'm going to go ahead and share real quick. Do I have the ability to share?
I made you a co-host, so I think you can.
Okay. Oh, yep, there it is. I see it. Sorry, guys.
No problem.
All right. Okay. So for me, I have actually two roles. So I work for McGraw-Hill Publishing Company, which a lot of you guys are, I'm sure, familiar with if you're in education or if you've ever been to public school. They are fantastic. And so I kind of have my foot in the door. I wouldn't say that I necessarily wanted to go that route back into education, but I knew the language well, and I am really enjoying it a lot. But I also have a my own LLC where I do contract work on the side for a lot of companies. I'm working with one on the West Coast right now. They're a waste management company, and I'm building out videos for them um for their employees as training like videos. They're little quick, learning small capture of an idea. Okay, so this is mine, my portfolio. And again, super basic. I have my e-learning. This is going to be all of my storyline and rise, my design documents and storyboards. So your lesson plan and any micro learning that you might create, and then a little bit about me and how to contact me. So if you scroll down, everything you can create a link to, but it's just a little bit about me, where you can contact me. If I'm going to go into my e-learning, I just created this on bloodborne pathogens training because it's something I'm familiar with. I taught it all the time in health. I use Storyline for it. And you can just click on it and it'll take you right to it. And they can experience what I've created. So it's not top of the line. That was the free audio. It wasn't anything special that I really loved, but it did show them I know how to use it. I'm going to go back just so you guys, my design documents and storyboards. So this goes to that bloodborne pathogens design and the storyboard that goes with it. And then it clicks to the e-learning course, and then it talks about the authoring tools that I use to create it. One thing is my micro learning. This right here, I use Canva for. I know it doesn't seem like something big, but a lot of times companies are going to be using just a quick snapshot. They need to, hey, don't forget, these are the step-by-step instructions on how to have post-exposure protocol if you were exposed to a bloodborne pathogen. Here I created a donation process. This is using Beyond. You can do a free trial with them. It's like a 2-week trial, and create your own video, download it, and add it to this. That's what I did. I don't even own Beyond. I just used the trial to help build up and beef up my portfolio. But it shows them that I know how to do these things. Here's a Camtasia email signature tutorial. It's like a 1.5-minute tutorial on how to put a link in your signature. So I really just encourage you guys to build that up. Having a portfolio is really going to help you stand out so they can see what it is that you can create. Something else I wanted to show you guys too is show like how you can advertise yourself and what you can do. So what I did was I created an interactive resume using Rise through Articulate. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that authoring tool, but you can view my resume through here in just a different way. I did a short little video clip of who I am, what I stand for, and they can scroll down, look at my resume in a different way. That just kind of showcases some of the things that I can do and how I can use them. So, does anybody have any questions on that right there? I don't mean to bombard you with all of these things, but good. Okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
How
Absolutely.
much of that content did you create prior to your new role, moving away from education? It sounds like you built out your portfolio
Yeah.
prior to that.
Yeah. So
How
I
many pieces
started,
were in there?
I think I have like probably one, I have a piece for Rise, Storyline Beyond. I think I have four like solid pieces showing the 4 most used authoring tools and different like video editing tools. I just wanted to showcase, even if it was a little blip of what I could do in each one. And then my storyboard, which is my lesson plan, those I just created and just built it out while I was doing it. So did I buy my own storyline license? Yes, I did. And I made those in my program, and I had people work, I would submit it and they would give me how I needed to improve it and how I needed to make it better. And they would send me back and I would fix it. They didn't just pass me along. I had to be up to snuff because I am representing their program. So, but I will say, with Articulate, if you're going to get it, they have a teacher discount. So get it before you stop teaching, because you can put your teacher email in there, and then I think they renew it every year at that teacher discount, and it's like half price. So I think I paid $200 for it for a year. So that's something to look into if you're interested in that. Yeah, so that was great questions. Oh, absolutely. So the question was, I'm assuming that it's worthwhile having Articulate and Rise and Storyline when you have an LLC. Absolutely. You are going to use it a lot, because if a company comes out and says, hey, I need to be able to upload a training into my LMS, and then I need to be able to know that they took an assessment and passed the assessment, then this is going to be the avenue I'm going to take for sure. It's either going to be Storyline or Rise. And yes, they will want to use that. It is the superior, most preferred way I've seen personally. So great question.
Okay, I'm gonna pause here or just switch gears.
Sure.
And if you have more questions for Kathleen, let's ask her in the breakout rooms. Well, there's only going to be one, but it'll be a little bit easier, and then it won't be recorded, so you can feel free to ask more questions. I'm going to share a little bit about how I've been using AI. So I was asked recently to convert some materials. This is something that happens in ID a lot. Hey, here's some materials that need to be loaded into the LMS. You know, can you do this? So I was handed this course to kind of take a bunch of content that was PDFs and put it into quizzes. And within these PDFs were these giant, it's a business mathematics course. So there were these giant interest tables that are like, I don't know, 25 columns and like 30 rows. And they're all filled with numbers and they were images. It was like, what am I supposed to do with this image? So I asked ChatGPT, I have the paid version, and I uploaded the image and I asked it to convert this image to a table that can be read by screen readers. Do you know it did it? Yeah. So let me show you what that looks like because it was just really surprising to me. That's just nods. So this is the image. And it wasn't, and so I needed it to make it screen a table that can be read by screen readers. And it did it. It took a little while. And it actually didn't do it right the first time because it only gave me a couple columns of information. So then I told it very specifically what I needed it to do. And it did it. So I was able to grab all of that and put it straight into the LMS and it was done. The other thing that I've been able to do, I was not provided answer sheets for these quizzes. So I don't know business mathematics. I mean, some of it is, you know, I can do, but when we're getting down to like compound interest, I'm like, I don't know. I asked ChatGPT and not only did it give me an answer, but it broke it down into the steps. And then I use these, or well, I didn't do it in this quiz, but you can use these for hints. So if you're creating a quiz where you want to give students hints, you can put little steps in there. Or if you want to give feedback at the very end, you can choose what would make sense to give feedback at the very end. So I thought that was a really cool way of using it. Let me get rid of my share for a second. I've also used it. I wanted to make a drag and drop. Well, I'm sorry, back up. I asked it for ideas for making a physics course more interactive, and it gave me some ideas. And one of them was create a drag and drop to demonstrate this one learning outcome. And I didn't know how to make a drag and drop. So I asked it, how do I make a drag and drop in Storyline? And it gave me the steps. It didn't tell me exactly which buttons did what, but it gave me the steps that I needed to do. And in doing that, I was able to create this kind of like sliding, if I can show it to you. Oh, it'll probably take too long to show it, but it was like imagine like graph paper, and then you could slide this at this x-axis, and then the line would change depending on the x value. So it walked me through the steps of how to do that because I didn't know really where to start. And then my favorite thing is always, I need a summary of this content. I've been given this document of content. Please summarize it in 3 key points. Or if I need to go the other way and I'm like, I just know that this page needs to be about circular motion. Please generate some content for me. Here are the learning objectives. And it's been so good for keeping the ball rolling in course development because sometimes we get really stuck with faculty. They get busy and then they can't generate a lot of content. And so what I've been doing is generating some drafts of content and then offering them. We use Articulate for a lot of content building, putting it in Review 360 and saying, hey, have a look at this thing. And then my SME can just look at it and say, yes, yes, can we change this? No, yes, yes, yes. And it moves so much faster. So I've been able to really make a lot of headway on projects that would have gotten stuck last year. So I'm super excited about that. I'm very happy to share that. All right, so I think this is probably a good place to pause and do some breakout rooms. Okay, everybody, we are back. Before we get into our whole group Q&A, I want to mention our next networking session is Tuesday, January 7th from 7 to 8 p.m. And I'm going to put the feedback form into the chat if you want to share your feedback with me. Also, feel free to put your LinkedIn profile in the chat if you want people to connect with you right now. And yeah, go ahead and you can unmute yourself, or you can ask the question in the chat if that's more comfortable, and try to get to everybody's questions.
I had a question if no one else is popping up. Sorry, I can't see everyone's screen right now to see if everyone was raising a hand. But I have a question about impactful portfolio artifacts. So in terms of creating things, what I'm wondering is, does it make the most sense to look at creating artifacts that I could use in my current job, let's say, that might be authentic for the people that I work with now, which is still in education, but in higher education? Or would it be more impactful to create artifacts around something that is outside of my current domain? For example, Kathleen's examples were around bloodborne pathogen training for I guess the waste management company. That would be not something I would ever need to encounter in my work right now. So it wouldn't be authentic from that perspective, but that kind of training might be more reflective of the work I could be doing if I were moving into the corporate world, let's say. So any thoughts you might have about whether it's best to showcase portfolio artifacts that are outside of your comfort zone and what you do, or that dig into them even deeper, perhaps. So, if I focused on a faculty development training, let's say, and use these different tools, that would be more in my domain and authentic. But how is that gonna translate and read outside of the education and education adjacent realm if I were to look for positions there? So
Kathleen, do you want to take
if that made sense.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to speak on that. I personally think it would be beneficial for you to do something outside of education. It can be for example, on my in my portfolio, I did a RISE training on. I'm a huge gardener, and I was like, you know what, I want to create something that I take interest in, but also could be used for a gardening center. So it was like how to train your employees to build it was on, it doesn't matter, but it was for a gardening center, and it brought me joy, and it was something easy that I already knew, but someone from corporate could see how they could like, oh, we could use that in this way. I don't think it's necessarily super important that it's like something someone could use right then and there, something that everyone could use. I just think that it showcases that you can take anything like bloodborne pathogens, which is super boring, and make it innovative, interesting, and engaging. So that's something to consider. I think if you just do something within even higher education, it kind of corners you in and puts you in that box. So go out. I actually created something too that was for a nonprofit organization within my community. I created stuff. My brother has a small business, and he's like, I can't pay anybody to do something like this. And I said, let me create it for you as long as I can use it in my portfolio. Yes, please. So I created all sorts of stuff for different people within my community. and they would love to use it. So, you know, kind of put yourself out there, but I do think it's important to do something other than education. Sharon, anything you want to add to that?
Um, for me, what worked for me was leaning into what I knew. I didn't have a portfolio when I was applying. I just had links to videos, and I applied for a media developer job. And that was how I got into the field, was I had experience as a hobby creating videos, and I showcased that by linking to actual videos on YouTube. And so I leaned into what I knew. If I had been in the job market longer, I might have pivoted and done something different. I think both are, you know, valid attempts at getting in. Kathleen, there's a question in the chat from Amy. Can you clarify / remind me what you were saying about resumes not going through a certain system?
Yeah, so the ALS system is, I believe, what a lot of larger companies use to kind of weed out some of their resumes, whether or not you had certain like hot words in there that they were specifically looking for, or even sometimes the formatting, if it's not the formatting that that program is looking for, it'll kick your resume out. So if you're looking at like, okay, well, what should I use? What should my format look like so that it will have a better chance of getting through that system? You might want to look into that. Let me see. Yeah. ALS,
ALS? What is the L
right?
for? You know?
Hold on. Let's see here.
I think Julie Faulkner responded with applicant tracking system. I think that's what
Yes.
the letters stand for.
ATS.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, not AL. Why am I struggling? I called it SMS earlier, and I was like, Kathleen, get a grip. That's text messaging. ATS. Thank you.
I'm putting links in the chat to some free OER about using AI. I just find it incredibly helpful if you're very novice to what AI is, how to use it. These are really great resources that I put in the chat. One is to a specific work, and then the other is to a whole list of things. You can use those as you want. We are down to the last 6 minutes. So what other questions are out there that we can get to? How important is it that your portfolio artifacts were actually used in the real world, demonstrate impact? You want to talk about that, Kathleen?
Sure. Okay. Well, I mean, one of the ones that I created, the bloodborne pathogen one, I was applying to a lot of healthcare facilities. So I also thought that that would be something like, okay, maybe this would be a good bridge or a good, you know, this would put me kind of in that world. So that artifact would be helpful in that scenario. Um, how important is that your portfolio were actually used in the real world? How important is it to me personally? Is that what we're asking, or I'm sorry.
Well, in terms of your prospective employers. So, for example, I had a networking chat with someone who's very active in L&D in the corporate world, and all of her portfolio artifacts relate to projects she's worked on in the past that connect to real numbers. So this is a thing that I did, and it did X, Y, and Z and drove growth, whatever percent. Whereas like the passion project, let's say, that I want to show that I can use storyline. I don't actually use storyline in my job. That would purely be a project to demonstrate the tool and maybe creativity or other soft skills. But I'm kind of feeling like there's a little tension between the project that shows that you can use a tool or you can think that your design thinking in your process versus it seems like some people want to see that you can demonstrate how the project actually impacted people in the real world, or what
Right.
metrics you could attach to it. So, so yeah, I don't know if there's, I guess I'm still thinking through what kind of project would best showcase my skills that might also address that, or
Yeah.
if that's not something I should focus on right now.
Yeah, I actually love that question because that's real truth there. Like obviously, if you have proven numbers that saying this is how I am improving this problem, changing it and building your business, that's wonderful. I do think what's also as impactful though is saying, this is how I'm going to analyze and take a look at the data pre, training. And then this is how I'm going to see and know that it's been impactful. So I think it's important that you are able to verbalize how you're going to do that. So if your goal is to have a 10% improvement on sales, this is the training we're going to do. And then on the back end, you need to say, okay, this is how I'm absolutely going to be able to show you based off of the training. So it could be, I'm going to go in and observe employees and see how many of them are actually completing what we did through the training. Sometimes that's not possible because you're remote, but you can then pull data, and being able to talk about how you plan on getting those numbers, I think is very important. So that's where those storyboards come into play, because that's going to spell out for the company how exactly you plan to get from point A to point B. And that's really what they want to know. Then you can start taking what you've created as you build your resume and dumping those things into your portfolio, and you can say, this is what I have done. But I think it's absolutely okay to not have real numbers, but you need to have a game plan for sure. Great question.
You have time for maybe one more quick question, if there's any out there. Oh, you're welcome, Moana. She's just got a very nice note of gratitude. You're so welcome. All right. Well, what do you think? We ready to wrap up? Yeah, we came back from what's it called? What holiday?
Thanksgiving.
We got back from that, and I feel like I just moved from one treadmill over to another, like all the family stuff and holiday stuff, back to all the work stuff. I'm ready for a break at some point. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here, Kathleen, and sharing your experience. Kathleen was asking if I was affiliated with any specific, organization for doing this. No, this is just something that I do and will continue to do until there's no interest or no guest speakers who will come and chat. But there just keep being people that want to share, and there keep being people that find this helpful. So happy to open the space every month and give back a little of my time to help people who are trying to make the transition. So hope to see you all back here January 7th after the new year, 2025, fresh start. There'll be Jennifer and Shinyi. There'll probably be more job postings by then. So keep your eye out, and I hope everybody has a very wonderful holiday season.
Thank you, Sharon, for having me. Everyone, great questions and good luck on your search. If you need anything, reach out.
Always reach out. All right. Have a great night, everybody.